All right. So we are hot red. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it looks good. There we go. The all seeing eye. That little thing that tells you how many people's in the group, you know? Good evening, everybody, and welcome, Jerry. Welcome, Chainsaw Chucky. So, hey, we're back for another Sunday night of fun on what I call the strange, the mysterious, and the lost. Of course, coming to you directly out of Studio 10 Broadcasting, Pittsburgh, PA, 10 o'clock talks. America Disclosing Uncensored. So many words, so too technical. But a lot of good things tonight, just like last week. A lot of information, UFOs, Bigfoot, um, old world things, skulls, aliens, pictures. We'll let you decide on what you think. Please post your comments. In case any of you are in here early, like I see, we got one. But I'm sure in the next few minutes we'll see some more coming aboard. Can't wait. So how was your day, guys? We'll give a minute for everybody to start floating in.
Good, Jerry.
Well, I didn't do anything, so I guess it's pretty good.
Good. Well, yeah, hey, that means you relaxed a little bit. You refreshed. Your mindset's ready.
More or less. I just I worry. That's basically my hobby now. So
Don't. Yeah, I hear you. Well, I'll tell you what, Chuck, why don't you take a second, and I'm going to do something real quick as well.
All right. I woke up this morning and actually was able to breathe. I've had this virus thing, and it's getting a lot better, but it's good to be alive and up and running. And actually, I didn't do a whole lot today either. I just kind of laid back and watched a few things and went to a couple different websites and just put my mind out there and tried to absorb some of the things that I was reading.
Gotcha. That's kind of like what I was doing off and on too, and did some sweet sausage today. It's kind of like the dinner thing. I was looking forward to that. I've been missing it, so I did that, and some macaroni and cheese, just things, just things. But all good, all fun. So anyway, I'm gonna, in case as people are coming in, just to let you know, we're all kind of sharing to some of our friends to let them know we did make it live. So I'm gonna hit the share button here or whatever the hell I got to do. I can't remember how I did it. Everything changes. Like I said, my technology, I don't know if they're upgrading me in some fashion, but I am seeing changes and it's keeping me a little bit confused at times, but anyway. With that said, that's how life goes. And we're going to continue in a quick second here. I'm getting out some things, notifications to people, and I'm starting to see some people actually responding to that. So that's good. Messengers of the Unexplained. That's another one of my things, too. Jerry, I don't know if you realize, I have there, I think, 97 groups in total. But a lot of them political and a lot of them like this. I actually enjoy this much more. I truly do as far as how that goes. But nevertheless, take every day as you can. That's what we're doing. Again, if you're just joining in, this is going to be our second week. I had to think because I do so many different broadcasts and I'm guest at times. With me tonight is Jerry and Chuck. Great guys. Both do other shows and commentaries and so forth. And we're going to do some of the strange and mysterious and the lost. And I'm just about done here getting some of this out to some of our better patrons out there who do follow the shows and so forth. How much is too much? I don't know, but it's all fun and dandy. Well, that's some anyway. So, what do you guys want to start with? I mean, if you're following the page with me, I didn't do a presentation yet, so I'm going to have to bring that up. It's a lot of UFOs. A lot of them are my own pictures. So, let me see here. I got to go into present, and I got to make sure I get on the volume this week too. I sometimes make that. We're going to screen share entire screen. Okay, entire screen. Click in. Right. Not letting me entire screen. All right, let me cancel. Try it over. It's not allowing me to do that. Let me do present again. Share screen. We need to share screen. This is how we make it fun for each other. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Technology's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it took a minute. It really took a minute. Screen 2. All right, we got that. We got to hit that little dot. Just patience, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight again. Let me hit the share. Let me see where we are.
There
Be
you go.
careful. Sharing
Got
can
it.
cause problems. All right, so there it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. I don't know. I'm trying to see at the bottom of my screen where we could put all us at the bottom and have that on. But I don't. Even that function's not there tonight. I don't know. Hey, River Rose, how are you? Jolene's here. Hey, Jerry, Jolene's here. Larry's here. Eric Leon Barton. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Don't leave. Make sure you share. Susan Haddix, great. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you as well. So let me come back over to here, Jerry. We're going to start with UFOs. Let's take a look at these guys. When it decides to work. Well, that's like I said, nothing seems to want to do its due diligence tonight. Oh, okay. Maybe we're just working. All right. I don't know if you guys are familiar with something like this subject matter here. This is pretty fascinating. We started discovering these around 20 years ago in caves. Okay. And it's some type of life form. All right. We watched them fly through the sky, and that's what you're looking at. An anomaly that's flying through the skies. They have now been nicknamed rods, RODS, rods. They can be anywhere, though. We're also discovering, we thought we discovered them in a cave, but what we have actually done we have discovered them in the Northeast. You've heard about them being down in the South, even as far down as you, Jerry, in Florida. Have you ever seen anything like this, guys?
I have not.
It's some type of life form. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open on it. I started talking big about this, I guess, about 5 years ago, and it went away. And one night I've decided to bring it back up, and we had someone in the chat room that actually knew some stuff about it, and we had an interesting conversation. But yeah, it's like, it's weird. It's just weird. What is it? I don't think anybody has that answer, truthfully. I don't think anybody.
DNA. Looks like one of them pictures of DNA the scientists make.
Yeah, like the double helix. Yeah, that would be a good, fair analogy. This was sent to me from a friend, South Carolina, about it was right before dusk, and this was a picture. He said that he was able to catch her. I can't verify any of this, but going through having fun, talking about the strange and mysterious and the things that are lost. This is kind of like one of them. And maybe we should add a bizarre to the end. So now this is something that I took. I call this a cloud puncher. Okay. I'm going to try to reflect with my little pointer here and give you an idea. So it was back here and it punched through the cloud. I mean, physically, I'm watching this with my eyes. Okay. I see it going on. And we're all shooting pictures. It was a family thing that we caught this event. And I'm being honest with you. We were northbound on Route 28, moving in a vehicle when we did it. And I could see it with my eyes when this happened. Is this like a Tic Tac that's translucent in some way, cloaking itself with some type of middle, or I don't know, but I could guarantee you, I can't guarantee you, but I give you my word. I saw it go behind this cloud, then push through forward. And this is taking the picture, what the result was, and this was one of the best pictures taken. So I thought I'd share that tonight with everybody and let everybody have a look at. This is something else that I caught up at around 2 o'clock in the morning. I just had the notion to go outside on the front porch, have a cigarette like Chucky gets up, goes out, he has a smoke outside. I was doing the same thing, being respectful to others. I knew there were others in the camp house. So I went out there and I sat, and this thing came down basically in front of me. And normally I would never take my phone with me, but I did. I'm having a cigarette, I'm scrolling through my phone, and I see this object like a zigzag. And then I tried to focus in on it and bring it up, suck it in into the frame. And I snapped several pictures. I have other ones, but this was one of the, whatever it is, I can't verify. But I can say it was something unidentifiable that was up there interacting in our atmosphere. So
almost looks like a front view of a catfish at dark, with a red.
well,
That's the way it
yeah.
looks to me, Yeah.
Well, I get what you're saying. I can't describe it I can't describe it any other way than what you're looking at, because that's what I got when I have my, you're holding it up and you're stretching the screen somewhat to click a picture. This is what came in to me, and I can only see this in some way as what we may be seeing is like some type of plasma energy or something, that it's in how it interacts with our atmosphere, that's anti-gravity, so to speak, because there's a couple mechanisms in my mind, which we can check into a little bit later, that will give us more information on that. But because some of that, what I just said, is verified through better people than me, but it looked like to me like a pie pan type of spacecraft, and am I right? I don't know, but I know no star picture that I ever took would come out like that. This was some type of anomaly up there. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Hopefully,
all right,
it's
so
not a
let me
weather
back.
balloon. They've been using that.
Could be swamp gas, like Ozzy Osbourne. Always, he
swamp
blames
gas.
everything on swamp gas.
Yeah, swamp gas. I forgot about swamp gas. That and
Yeah.
the weather balloon has been the excuse for 50, 60 years now.
Hey, brother, but aren't we over it? Aren't we over it that that open mind thing?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a weird one. This was sent to me. This is not mine. So what you have here that I'm outlining is something that actually looked like a head. It's not giving great presentation here, but it was like, if you could look there, it was kind of like an alien head there was actually like a tree here. I could tell, but I was trying to give a little, I didn't do this justice. I'm just going to say that. I didn't know it would look like this presenting on a 1040 or whatever it is that I'm presenting through. I guess I need to upgrade to 17, but nevertheless, just a very strange anomaly. And if you go into the group, please do that. Go into the group and see for yourself. Toy with the pictures, play with them, see what you come up with, and at a later point in time, stay with us. Now, this here was sent to me from a guest that I had in Canada who caught this right on the border of the woods after witnessing a UFO event. So, again, I can't confirm this, okay? But I used to post this up, when he would come on the show, because this was one of his pictures that he, made claim to. It's mine, and I want to do my due diligence for him. What is this? I mean, I don't know. It does look like it could be an alien. It also looks like it could be a manifestation of something else. But he thought, because of the coincidence of the unidentifiable object that he witnessed merely like 30 seconds, vanished into the same part of the woods that then appeared at. And I thought that was pretty mind-blowing,
Yeah.
I mean, I see like a mouth. I see like the bridge of a nose. I see an eye. I see like horn. I don't know. Maybe it's demonic. Maybe it's demon. It's hard to say.
That's what it looks like. It looks like either horns or maybe ears. I don't know. But in the skull, the top looks lumpy.
Yeah. I see it a little when I look over between screens. I only have two on tonight, but yeah, I see a little bit more of that definition that you're speaking about when I see it as a small versus on my screen where it's blown up out of proportion. But okay, I hope you're enjoying this, everybody, so far.
The nose looks oversized, almost like a snout.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the strange and mysterious part of it all. I mean, and you know what? As you always say, Jared, as I try to say to everybody, we're not the only ones seeing this stuff. It can't all be a lie. It can't. No. Now, this was a still shot that I took on a video from somebody that I knew that actually took the video. And he caught this shooting across the sky, just like my needle just went, my pointer just went. And he was able to do some still frames. We talked. He's like, here, I'm going to send you the video. He said, do like Guy did. And that's what I did because I trust him. He's a speaker at conferences and so forth. And he said this was a Class A type of UFO anomaly footage of film. So, again, please go into the group. You can upsize. You can shrink them. You can do whatever you want. but this was part of an object that was coming from the right to the left. Okay, so it was coming right to left, and that's where it was caught. It was the best. Well, I guess, you know, if I'd have sat there in the video and kept trying to do something, well, I would have probably got more out of it. But again, we go back to something that looks like saucer shape, but then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's cylindrical. I'm sorry, whatever the word is, and it's more like a rod type of thing. Anyway, it's another interesting photo, and I thought I'd share that one also. And I got a lot. Now, I know who took this, and nobody can tell me I didn't. This is kind of what I saw that night while I was on show with you, Jer. When you had Jen there, you had Dave, you had Chuck there, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly that same type of object. But again, I'm not up in the sky 12,000 feet to say I know what this is. But this is a Class A. We know what this kind of object is. In broad daylight, but not broad daylight. They just started milking the skies, not with the heavy stuff, but the light stuff. And then this is the shot that I got.
That's exactly what I saw at around 5 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark out. It was just starting to get a little light out to the east. And this thing went right over the top of me, and it was shimmering. It wasn't, but it had the 3 triangle lights on it. And it was moving. It was moving very slowly. It was not an airplane. I did not hear anything. That's it. That's exactly the same thing that I've seen.
Right, and there's no blur to this. This was like almost very stationary or moving uneffortedly and slow, you know, in some way, because I've gotten them where it's like a flash. You'd never get a clarity. So this was like, yes, it's like that EVP when you're ghost hunting. You ask a specific question, you get a specific answer. It's almost like, wow, it's that wow factor. So that was over Pennsylvania, Karnes City, Armstrong County. That's where that was zipped at from. Anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. And yeah, Eric, I started laughing. Chuck, I wasn't laughing at you, but I think Eric Leon Barton was basically, you know, we were showing that picture of the demonic. I think, that is a picture of Nancy P. And maybe you're actually right. You know, yes. Oh, you did. Gary's on and remarking, yeah.
That's probably what she looks like when she goes home and takes off her mask and so forth.
Not to bring up dumb shit or the big P political, but I mean, did you see the video of Maxine Waters where they show? I was actually going to show it, and I said to myself, no, I want to stay away from that. We need to clear our minds and just, you know, and but like something comes out of her mouth, and it doesn't look like a tongue. So I don't know if it's CGI'd. It looks like somebody got in really close because it's a little bit of a blur. And I don't know under CGI if you can do it. I don't know that. I don't study that. I do put stuff on giant screens that I have, you know, like anybody else that has a 75-foot screen or 55. If you think about that logically, this thing comes out of her mouth like for a quick moment. And of course, what are we looking at? I wasn't joking about when I said, and the aliens eat people. Look, I mean, I've been to some of these conferences. I listened to what some of these people say, and they claim that whistleblowers say that they feed on them and our government allows it. Maybe that's part of the missing 411. I call it the abduction 911. There's a bunch of people out there that talk about that theory that these reptilians eat and feed. Not all being bad, not all being good, but anyway. Now, this was an anomaly that came up also up in Karnes City. And to be honest with you, it was way up there. This was the best I could do with it. And maybe possibly, you know, because I got to be truthful here. I almost saw a reflection on it. And where I saw the reflection was in this area. And that's what I kept looking up because that's what I do. And I do it a lot, probably too much. And I got a reflection here. And I thought, I know I didn't do it justice. Maybe it is a cloud with all the nanoparticles that they put in stuff. You know, these things that can shimmer and shine and make these beautiful sunsets of colors. Maybe that was it because I could actually kind of see that here. But I thought, oh, my God, that has a pretty good type of. So anyway, gut feeling. Is it? I can't verify it's anything but what we're looking at. Maybe it's a possibility that that's a fact. So. Another one that I was able to bring up.
Hold on, that last one looks like the classic.
I can bring it back.
Saucer, the classic saucer.
Yeah, that's why I hit it like 4 or 5 times. That was the best one that came out. You get older, you get a little shakier, and I do have the left eye blind syndrome going on. You do adjust, though. Your body adjusts as you lose things. So even as I sit here, I'm looking through blur, but I see with clarity on my right eye. I do my best. I do my best because what's in disguise is something of great interest to me for a lot of reasons. And this is
listen.
Go ahead, brother.
The eating of the people. A lot of people are talking about that.
The feeding of the people. Yeah.
The national parks in this country.
Yes.
Over the years, I read something. Over 750,000 people have disappeared in national parks.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a wild guess that's not all bears.
No.
And I mean, they disappear without ever a trace. Very few of them, like bones or something like that, found.
Yeah.
They find their stuff sometimes,
But
not them.
Yeah.
Or mysteriously, something shows back up in an area that they already searched.
Yes.
You see that. And then if you go to Alaska, we're talking about over 60,000 people at times in a year could go missing, or a period of time. I have the data on it, but it's an immense number. And Prince of Wales Island, they claim that that's a big place for Bigfoot and whatnot, but the overall reference to Alaska has some of the heaviest missing. And are there a lot of bears there and different types of wildlife and so forth? And why do they want a lot of people not being in parts of Alaska? That brings up questions. Why are they right now? Well, not right now. I mean, Trump's trying to give back all the lands to the people, but there were things in place to shut down, and they are trying to shut down some of the national parks right now, saying because it's due to expense. I put a joke up under the scenario of that subject matter, and I made it in a little bit of a joke saying they probably don't want to give a place for the homeless to be able to come stay, and since they're booting everybody off the streets and not providing housing. Apologies for going on that narrative of political, but you guys know where I'm coming from on that, where I'm going with it. So you have that scenario going on. This is another picture. I know it looks like there's something behind there, but what we're looking into is cloud around a space of darkness, again, with something that was showing lights. And I didn't catch the lights, but I caught the light, the anomaly of a brightness. And below it, I don't know what the hell it was. I can't answer for it, but I can answer for what I was seeing. This is what I was seeing, but this also came up on the picture. And again, you got to remember, I'm shooting way up into the sky. I don't know always how it's going to turn out, but I look at, and my files are extensive. We could sit here for hours and just go through them all. So that's another one as an example. I can't claim what it is, but I can tell you what that looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, this is years of doing this, to be able to capture stuff.
This is the problem with people like me. I got to start looking up more.
You're too busy looking for snakes.
Yeah, well, it might be worth it to get bit by one if you see something like this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I see the chemtrails all the time. They're hard to miss because we're not really over, but with planes flying out of Gainesville, you can see them. They're usually pretty high up, but they're shooting shit out the back and everything, But I've never actually seen anything like this. The closest thing I've ever seen was a bunch of colors just explode in the sky. And I mean, not fireworks. They were solid all the way across. And the brightest greens and reds you've ever seen anywhere.
Yeah, I had an experience similar to what you're talking about, but they came down as if it was an exhaust. Of all this most brilliant, pretty green color over the tree line. Me and my daughter were there that evening, and she grabbed onto me. I could feel her little fingers dig into my arm. She was probably 13 or 14, 12. I don't know, somewhere. It was in around 2012, 2013. And she says to me, "And what the hell was that?" And that was the tone that she used, because she was like, she saw something that didn't register. There was like, what really? What am I didn't get nothing on camera with that. We were just standing in the dark. observing in the pasture and field, and looking over the power lines that go into the Appalachians, you know, and to the national forest that we have up there. And it just happened. The funny part about this story is it goes a little elsewhere. About a year later, I'm sitting in front of the TV. I'm watching reruns of something. Don't even know how I came across them. And it had to do with MUFON, Pennsylvania. And they were investigating something where the lady saw the same type of green colors being discharged, but she could identify seeing something that was there that released it. And they came in on her property. They took all kind of samples from the trees. They did all kind of stuff, and it made television. My case never did, nor did the sighting where I could have threw the rock could have. But I don't think, you know, MUFON's really looking for the stories anymore. We know the existences are going on. And Steve Bassett even reminded me of that. I think we're beyond the typical subject matter. We know people are seeing them. What we need are the answers of what are they? Whose are they? And in fact,
well, all I know is when I saw that, it was 5 or 6 different colors. I know it wasn't fireworks.
Right.
Never seen fireworks like that ever, and to this day. You know, it was solid. And you can tell your daughter, I was probably 17. And I said the exact same thing because I was outside. We lived in
and I'm sure Jerry,
Florida, and it's like it was, you know, it's Fort Lauderdale basically. Looked like it could have been out by the beach. It was fairly far away, but I said the exact same damn thing to the guy I was talking to. I said, "What the hell is that?" I wasn't the only person to see it. We weren't the only ones to see it. A lot of people saw it.
Right.
And the problem is I cannot remember what the explanation was, but it was something I did not believe. I remember that. And I've tried looking it up, but it was such a small article in the local paper. I think it was called the Hollywood Fort Lauderdale Sun Tatler, that nobody, I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah, like you've always said, Jerry, you know, I know damn well I'm not the only one that's seen something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, shit. Millions have seen stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes huge amounts at a time, and then they try to tell them something.
Tartanian, anyone? All right, so here we have some skulls.
Yeah.
Jumping off to a little bit of a different subject matter, I only have a couple examples. Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, I look at this and I try to analyze in my head. Maybe you'll be able to do the same thing. It was found this way? Yes, we know that. But is there a possibility in some way that it was eaten, chipped away at? You know, I don't know. Is it just a giant one-eye cyclops creature that it's from? It's hard to say. We can't tell by the structure of the teeth, though. The circumference of this thing is very, very large.
Oblong too.
Yeah, kind of. Like when you get into the mummy, the elongated skulls. Yeah. This was a mummy that was found, and it was just to give an idea of, you know, what Sunday nights are going to be like going into some of these crazy things that I'll be posting, but it makes great conversation.
With this picture, you would need a close-up to look at the whole, because there's a lot of damage to that skull too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where they pull brains out in the mummification process, or, you know, he was killed violently, or she.
Correct.
Hard to tell, but that's, well, I guess you could break that in between the eyes with something like, you know, a rock or something. I don't know. Yeah,
but when you look at like the most normal person in our eyes, the nose and the bridge, there's a little bit of question there. That's you know, but again, like you said, it's a little higher. It looks like the depth goes back more.
Yeah, the nose ain't right. Like it's not in. It seems low.
Yeah, makes for a great Halloween mask. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, your nose goes up to between your eyes.
Right. You know. That's the weird part. Yeah. Usually it would be up here.
Yeah. So that's odd.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. We're gonna look at some more mind blowing here. Okay, so some of the things have been vibing that have been up on Facebook. Some of the things that I just collect from there, and I'll point out the ones that I didn't. This is just something that was going around. It's said to be from back in the day of a werewolf, dogman type creature, and there's other nicknames out there for it. I can't verify anything, but again, things that come around start to trend. Somebody finds them. People forget that they looked at it. They think it's something else. It starts hitting groups, and there's a lot of good groups out there in Bigfoot. So they welcome information. But again, you're always getting that laugh out loud face at the bottom. Somebody's always being negative. But again, I don't know. It is what it is. It's something that looks very strange.
I've watched a lot of documentaries on animals because I have an interest in animals.
Yeah.
And many of them been on wolves because wolves, they got a way about them. And I've never heard once in any documentary that they get up on their hind legs and walk frick around.
And not only that, when it comes to dogman, the legs are reversed from the knee to the feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're reversed. And I think I have some examples. I don't know if we'll get to everything tonight. There's a lot. Another picture that was put up, I don't know if it's from a movie, if somebody CGI'd it, but it was a cluster of pictures, and I like this one the best as a presentation. Again, there was a little bit of a note that said it was at this remote blah blah area, so to speak. Is it the real thing? I don't know. But again, trying to just bring interesting things into the participation, because I know I get people that watch me through Bigfoot, through ufology and different stuff. I shared these types of shows into their groups and, try to give them a little shout out of representation. They call this the goat man. They don't call this the dog man.
I've heard of that. The goat man.
I got to get on that. Hold on.
The goat man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Hold on. I got to see this. Huh.
That's what I said too.
It's hard to. Oh wait, I see it now. I see it with the horns. Yeah, okay, I see it.
It almost looks like a bear face on it though too. To me.
Yeah, but you're actually, when you look down at the extremity too, the anatomy, there is a hand structure here.
Yeah, yep. on the left side there, or well,
right. It doesn't look like a paw feature.
No, but the horns,
ears, horns, something is different about it, and I guess that's why
they are like a ram. Looks more like a ram than a goat to me, anyway.
Yeah, and then again, if you go to the lowercase picture, you can see like a thumb and the index fingers and so forth of a hand, and as well to the opposite side. So again, strange, mysterious. Maybe he was lost in the woods. I don't know. But this is another thing that's been vibing out there the past few months.
My question is this. If you live in the woods, how are you ever lost in the woods? Would be my question. These things, although they have a home territory, their territory seems to be is wherever the hell they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but that's odd.
Sure is. Let's hit another one. So we see something that's rather large, really long arms that match up to what we think we understand about Bigfoot or an entity like Bigfoot. Again, the more you blow it up, the more you'll take the quality away from it. So I welcome everybody into the group to take a look at things as they want. And you can always bring comments up on another show also, and we can refer back to, help out and further the conversation. Chuck, what do you think on this? What's your take?
Yeah.
I see a stomach anatomy. I see a chest. I'm not saying this isn't a suit. I'm saying I see a lot of good qualities here. Yeah. The representation of.
He's got a tummy like I do. Yeah, for sure.
Well, they eat a whole deer.
I know.
So having a gut would not surprise me, really. And, Look how big they are.
Yep.
I mean, this
Yeah,
thing
that's
looks like
definitely got
7
some
foot
mass.
tall,
Yeah.
judging by that tree that looks like a pine tree or whatever it is right next to it.
Yeah. And look, his feet are below a level here too.
Yeah.
As you can see the bend, you
Yeah.
know, as the bend, you can see also the arch in the foot coming up.
Well, look how
A lot of
from the
people will
ankle
say,
to the knee. Look at the ankle to the knee.
yeah, exactly. You know, that you know, the anatomy is like,
Yeah.
That's
Well, you know what? In the end, the I don't know is what drives everybody nuts, and that's what everybody should be constantly looking for is the I do know, you know. And there's people out there have seen this stuff, seen them ripping trees and throwing trees at them, and not like bushes, trees, you know,
yeah,
8, 10 foot tall. You
yeah,
go into the woods, you'll see a bunch of trees that are just knocked down, no burn marks from like I don't know, lightning or anything like that. And just broken. And I've been in the woods when I've heard the knocks.
yeah.
And the first thing comes to your mind must be a woodpecker, but a woodpecker don't peck wood like that. I got one at my house, and although it's relatively loud and it's a lighter version of what it sounds like, it's way faster. They
Right.
don't do it like every few seconds. It's a constant thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was interesting as far as a good share.
There you go.
No,
One of the
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. One of the funny parts. I'm sorry, Chuck. I tramped on you again. Is
Go
we
ahead.
don't. All I was going to say is we don't get a lot of facial features. That's we see these side shots. We see these behinds. Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment is that one there looks like the person that took the picture was damn near right in its path, and it like
May have been a trail cam.
yeah, okay, trail cam, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know the origin of this one, but I thought to myself,
They have found trail cams smashed. Like people
Yeah.
sometimes they put them low. So the
Okay.
one guy I watched, he used to put his up real high where they couldn't reach it. But unless you have a very long strap, you have to put it on kind of a thinner tree. And he came back and found the tree broke.
yeah,
Wow.
a lot of mysterious things happen when with these trail cams out there. But again, that's when you can have eyes on when you can't be there. And very serious people do set up and invest into products that enable us to be able to share stuff like this. Again, it's going to be up to people. We're not going to tell anybody here, believe it in this is 100% authentic, but it surely is a pretty decent picture. Looking at the bottom plate of the foot and so forth, the length right here is very long. This looks like a very tall something of a creature because some people speculate their age also by their foot size. There's things going on out there with mathematics involved to some of the things we're finding out.
I will say about this picture, and Jodell said, it looks like he's wearing pants, actually, which is a weird thing. It could be the camera. Let's face it, it's not the greatest picture.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
It kind of does look that way. I don't know. But the feet are huge, and that is a direct correlation to size in humans. How many big guys like I'm 6'2"? How many guys 6'2" you see with size like 8 feet? It doesn't happen.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. That's coming up. That's coming up. There you see a breast.
Yeah. Either that or he's flipping somebody off.
He or she. Yeah, we don't know.
But
this might be part of the Patterson film, and it was
looks
people.
younger.
Well, it's hard to say exactly. Someone was playing around with a piece of film footage, and they said that this was a snapshot from it. They sent it to me and asked me my opinion. I was like, I love the quality of the picture. We're finally seeing some of this new technology helping us, to further the information. So, to me, I'm really looking at this, and we have one really prime example out there, the Patterson film of a female Squatch walking up a path where two men were on horses, and they were able to capture I don't have the specifics of the time on my head right now. I keep data on that kind of stuff, but I just don't have it right now with me. But I thought, again, good to share with people.
I don't think that's any kind of a monkey suit or anything there. Look at the neckline on the back, and it goes at that angle all the way up to where almost the top of the head is a point almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you had a costume on or something, it wouldn't be shaped like that. As far as I could, it just doesn't. It doesn't look like a costume to me. That looks like something that hasn't evolved completely. I mean, there's no neck. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm gonna say something. All right, and this ain't my show, but Eric, stop. All right, you don't have to believe. Just be polite. That's all we're asking, buddy.
Yeah, man. Think from your heart. That's all. That's all. And there's a lot more good stuff, Eric. There might be things here that you're gonna like.
Yeah, he's not gonna. Eric is a different kind of guy.
Oh, I know Eric. Yeah, and I love him to death. Who's taking the pictures? Some of them I have. I'll just say that to you. So if you think anything of me, have patience.
We're not here to convince anybody. Eric. Do it. You can believe what you
want. No, great. So, all right, let's change the topic here. Maybe that'll help Eric a little bit.
According to your social studies teacher, what is the equator? Right. An imaginary line where?
Yeah.
Around the center of the earth. Then if this map is correct, then the equator must be here, and Chicago has a tropical climate. Now, folks, this is the map that we use in the schools. Look where the United States is, in the middle of the world, right? Now, here's the USSR, which is no more, of course, Mongolia, China, Africa, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Now, look over here. USSR, Mongolia, China, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Two Indias here. We have two Indias. Did you know that? Now, people, this is a flat-out lie. Look at the size of Greenland and the size of South America. According to your social studies teachers, what were continents? Largest land masses on the face of the earth, right? Now, do you know the continents? Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, Europe, North America, and South America. Did I say Greenland? Well, Greenland isn't a continent, but it's a huge landmass according to this map, right? The map is a flat-out lie, people. If you read the legend on the map, here it says, in fact, South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland. Now, look at this map. The equator on this map is down here. All the white countries are larger than they should be, and all the countries of people of color are smaller than they should be. This is a visual image that teaches children a lie. In order to make this map anywhere near accurate, you have to take this over here and put it here like this. Now, well, can somebody hold that? Can you hold that down there, somebody? Are you a somebody?
Sally is a somebody.
Okay,
yeah.
Sally's a somebody. There. Now, take a look at the difference. Does that give you a different visual image of the importance of the United States? People, the way you use things like this, teaching aids like this, are what make you and I racist. We were taught that this is the way the world looks. It's a flat-out lie. How could a parent not be a racist? How could a white parent not be a racist if you've ever seen this map?
Pretty crazy, huh? And here's a speculation, because we talked about maps and them being wrong. And being depicted like this. I mean, at least I have. I think me and you, Jerry, even discussed this once on one of your shows. And we do know that there was a civilization in Europe that was black that was in charge for 700 years.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if that's why the Vatican changed the order of the maps, because there was an order by the Vatican, by a pope, once upon a time, that asked for depictions like this to occur, to make one culture look worse than the other culture. So here, it's something lost. You're getting a fact of maps. So you can go back to 1513 with Perry Reese And there was another name, Ottman, who, 300 years before we knew about the Antarctica, they had a geological map that conclusively matched the topography of the ground. Now, how can you do that when you're not even alive during that period, unless history was manipulated with timelines? Were manipulated.
We're manipulating it now. Why not then?
Exactly. So we've always been on this path. Centralization of destruction. All right. So here we're going to get into something that's a little bit different. So it was a ticky-tock. Look. People that worked on it never saw it completed. Over 500 years, but look at the reference. I don't know. I find that really fascinating because we see this. We really do. We see this, and we look at these ancient buildings and different things that happen and so forth. All right, so here we're going into a little bit different of a different sort. These young ladies, as you'll be able to see what's going on with them and be able to read from the buffer at the bottom, that they lost their mother, I think, just a couple days prior. And they're not young people. And this is when you look at near-death experiences, because I talk about a lot of stuff, I present a lot of stuff. You guys like a lot of stuff like me. Let's just... We're going to have... We're talking about orbs, or ladybug, all these different things.
Well, if you talk to Nick, he believes that the two cardinals living at his house are his grandparents. It's a Catholic religious thing.
Yeah.
So
on the day after the mother's memorial service, this is what they experienced. So is there a connection between the afterlife and the spiritual animals here on the planet? I guess it's possible. When you see an example like this. Yeah, I find things like that pretty fascinating. So, I think this is David there. Yeah, I know David. So let's do this for David.
High tides, low tides. If the moon should just leave, that people there are just tired of it, want a different neighborhood and decide to leave.
Have a big stagnant pond.
Yeah, well, when they fire that thing up and leave, I would not want to have property on the ocean coast because it's going to be underwater. There's nothing to control the tides. That will affect everything. The river that you have inside the Gulf Stream, all that will be disrupted. Polar caps, they'd be disrupted. The moon would hurt us badly if it would leave. Could be one of the things they threatened us with, that, people come back here, we'll just leave. We ain't going to blow you up. Just leaving is going to mess you up. Man.
Taking our heart.
Well, you take control of the tides gone. Desalination of the oceans would occur. I can go down the list. It's one catastrophe after another. Maybe our people know about that. They just want to avoid the moon altogether.
Yeah, what else is unique about the moon that you could share?
Well, my God, you ever wonder why the moon is so shiny? Full moon, you can read a newspaper.
There's a lot of mirrors up there.
What we learned from the moon rocks, moon dust, it's diamonds.
Crystalline structure.
Crystalline structures over the entire.
Some interesting things that I have that I've gone over, Jerry, that I want to discuss with you right now about some of the comments he made. There was a period of time that the ancients never even referred to a moon being in the sky. So he makes a comment here, and I know David. He's worked for all the best government things out there. He's been on platforms, shows. He's is very credible, and he can make you rockets to go anywhere you want to go in the world and out of this world. And he's been doing it since he was a very young man. Also, very good friends with astronauts and more. But besides giving him, the big kudos and all that stuff. So the ancients make mention of this, that like there was never a moon in place. He's making mention of something that NASA said they lost the technology to go back to the moon. They admittedly said that they lost the technology to go back. So is there a fear thing in place here? Because when we finally got there, according to the record, saying that we finally got there, I want you to ask yourself, how did a little capsule take these buggies and stuff that were just as big as the capsule and get them there? Even if they were in parts, there wasn't enough space in them. But while they were there, they yelled Santa Claus. That was code for there's something else here with us. And is there a life there? We don't ever see what's behind the other side of the moon because they say the moon is stationary. So if the moon is stationary, we can never see what's behind there, but we have had, missions where we go and take pictures from behind, and it shows factual types of things that were there, that are there, etc. So, it blows my mind because
or a town behind on the dark side of the moon.
Well, more than that, but yes, including a tower that is like 1.5 miles high. So maybe that's why they keep saying we're going to Mars.
Could be.
The reference is now Mars.
Well, listen, we talk about how either they did or didn't go to the moon, and now suddenly we're going to Mars. I have to ask myself, what do they know about the moon that points to the Mars? That makes perfect sense to me. The answer doesn't because I don't know it, but nevertheless, the question does.
Mm-hmm.
What have they found? I mean, you start. It's like World War II when they did island hopping. They started one island and kept moving and moving and moving towards Japan. This is the same thing. You start with the moon, which is the closest, and so what do they know that we don't? Because I'll be truthful.
That's what I'm saying.
The moon much, but I've never heard that it's full of diamonds or anything like that.
No, I haven't either.
Just now, and as I said, I don't study space or anything, but my guess, there's no way.
All kind of stuff, Frank. Hey, good to see you.
There's no way.
All right. But again. There's something else that came up that's even stranger that fits into the critique of this. It's against the law to sell moon rocks.
Yeah.
Because remember, they brought moon rocks back, they said.
Yeah. So
there's something else that comes into play. And that may be one of the reasons why. What do we really know about that subject matter? So David might be onto something here, but not only be onto something, he worked within in an area of, where knowledge could have been possibly handed around to many people that concerned many different things. And again, it makes you just wonder, and that's part of the strange, the mysterious, and the lost information. That's how I look at it. But it would make you think. Here's something exactly that I was referencing to on the maps. I forgot that I actually had this on here. I thought I put it in a different group. So
were a group of black people from Africa that ruled in Europe for some 700 years. They were the kings and the queens. So Europe, a certain part of it, Portugal and Spain, was ruled by black people. We were the kings, who were the queens, the dukes and the earls and all that other kind of stuff. They buried that in history so that you don't know that. I'm not making this up. Go check it for yourself. They were called the Moors. They brought culture. They brought history. They brought math. They brought science. They brought a multitude of things to Europe that they will never get credit for in the public school. So, look it up. Moors. More.
He's not wrong. It's there.
No,
he's not wrong. And I'm not you know, I'm not on the fence here. I'm not going either way. All I'm saying is wow factor.
Yeah, you know, it makes me wonder why none of this was taught in school. I mean, you obviously hear of the
Mm-hmm.
Moors. I mean, if you're anything about history, you're going to know about the Moors because they also were great fighters and they had wars and you know, so on and so forth. But you know, you don't really hear much about them. And I've never heard that they ruled Egypt, or I'm sorry, Europe. Of course, maybe I did, and I was asleep that day. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, again, not trying to push product on people in any way, but he's not wrong when he says to look into the true histories in ways, and maybe they were the reason that there were sacred geometries that we didn't understand, and maybe there's other facts that point fingers in other directions, and people that we thought were white were created only to be through paintings were white, but were actually black, and vice versa. Anything can be done with the stroke of a pen, can be done with a stroke of a brush and some dyes, you know, because that's what they use for watercolor paintings, depictions, and all that, those other kinds of things. But again, I think, you know, in presentations, people look for validations because I've talked about a lot of different things and where'd you get your, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm just trying to say, well, here's a presentation of some of that. Now you have it. It's not where I got it, but it was something that came across to me. And I thought, hey, it's a good time to share. All right, now we're going to get to something also here that it gives credence to the moon. And we're not talking about every mission.
While they took 3 automobiles to the moon, they never took a photographic telescope.
Nobody has really given me a great answer of how they got the dune buggy on the surface, but they're driving around the dune buggy, and I think they brought some golf clubs too. There's some pictures of them playing golf.
Had they done so, they would have been able to see farther into the universe than had ever before been realized. If they had taken a telescope and were not actually on the moon, they would have had to concoct undiscovered galaxies that might one day prove to be non-existent. The cost of the 3 moon rovers in 21st century currency? Nearly $60 million each.
Hold on a second. $60 million for what looks like a Lego. Come on. And how did this thing fit on the lunar lander? That, to me, again.
That's enough for me because he makes the most balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
They probably.
How do you debate that? He's absolutely right. Where did they have a garage?
They probably used $1 million to make it, and the rest went to the CIA to kill Kennedy.
Yeah,
it could be part of it. It could be part of it. But again, did they have a garage? And no, they didn't.
NASA seems to be a money laundering operation to me. It always has been. I can't understand why a screw I can at the time buy 5 cents at the freaking hardware store costs him $150. But you know, whatever.
Yeah, I understand you. Well, even beyond the money, it doesn't make sense that they could even fit this equipment in that lunar lander. It just doesn't. Yeah. We know the size of it.
That has crossed my mind over the years. How the hell they get golf clubs up there? Because
how do you do that?
Major concern, apparently.
And also look at the tires. Okay, thing's got 4 tires on it. Now, they look like standard size, you know, automobile tires or whatever. Maybe they're a little bit wider, you know, because, you know, you're traveling on sand or whatever. But yeah, like you say, where in the hell did they have room to store all that stuff on that lander?
Exactly. I mean, you know, when we look at the Planet Serpo mission thing that took place, I mean, the craft that came here, that we had the exchange of astronauts with aliens for technology purposes and us to understand their ways of life. They had this mothership basically have to Anyway, that's something different. I got something even stranger than a stranger at the Pentagon. Have you ever heard of the Val Thor story, where we had a stranger in the Pentagon for 3 years who came here and met with the highest people up and tried to present, let me just play it. It'll give you the gist of it.
Live without sickness, without poverty, without disease, and without death. They told him, "We're sorry that we cannot accept the information that you're freely giving us because it will ruin the economy of this nation." Well, sir, Commander Thor left on the morning of March 16, 1960, on the outskirts of Alexandria, Virginia, where his spaceship came down. He went into the spaceship and disappeared from sight. His name was Valiant Thor. He grabbed my hand. His hand was skin soft as a lady's or a baby's skin, but it was a grip of a man. And we spent 30 minutes, mostly me asking questions and he giving answers. And he claimed that he was from the inside of the planet that our Bible calls the morning and the evening star, the planet Venus. He said yes. All of this time, Mr. Thor was at the Pentagon for 3 years, mind you, and he was going and coming at will. He was brought to the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and Richard Nixon, offered to give them information on how the American people could successfully live without sickness, without poverty, without disease, and without death.
So, it was a visitation from a race that looked a lot like us. His name was Val Thor. I have many pictures of this guy with presidents as well through that 3-year period, and people that would become presidents. And he tried to give guidance and told them that he could help humanity. They would not accept it because their plan for humanity going into the future was about more of a control feature, where he wanted more of the peace and love feature. So again, these are people that are early whistleblowers testifying to this, and I have a lot of them. I couldn't even present them all tonight. I really couldn't. But have you ever heard of this guy, Val Thor?
No, I have not, and I'm actually looking it up right now.
No, I haven't.
Well, you remember I told you that I did a show with a young lady named Paula Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Paula worked with the best in the industries as far as journalism, and Colonel Corso, Roswell, 47, and a space machine that came down with technologies beyond us that were actually alive. The craft was actually alive. It functioned as a life form. We got into a lot of those conversations, and Val was one of them. And Val was one of the things that she investigated. The story went to the places that he was actually at, where he sat in on things and investigated and talked to people and brought things to light. By the way, there's a book out called Trinity. And I would tell anybody, if you have a minute, to buy it, to read it, or even to navigate through it somehow, where through one of those book reads programs, you got to check it out. Jacques Vallée and Paul. And look, how do I get this information? Think about everything that I don't talk about in the green room that we talk behind the screen on. And because people ask me, where do you get this information? It's the people that you're, I don't want to say tied to, but a party to, that you can have great conversations with. And I did. I mean, if you go into the National Sightings Registry, you'll see the actual show where we discuss a lot of these things. There are a lot of great investigative journalists out there. And not only that, she's a photojournalist. She photographs everything. Everything is a matter of importance, and including this story here. So what did you come up with, Jer?
A bunch of books and movies. Which I don't want to, well, the books maybe, but not the movies. They're never true, but I'll find it. You probably got to go a few pages to find kind of, a short synopsis of what it is, but I will find it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. And again, we can always
Washington D.C. UFO incident, but That's not the same thing, obviously.
No, that's the 1952 over the Capitol,
Yeah.
where there was, and I have all those. Well, they're not the original photos, but I do have the original copies of the photos from that. Right now, we're looking at, because there's always been the Raphaelim, the Nephilim, and the stories of the before and the after the flood and the devastation of the giants, the Kandahar giant, and all those types of things. And I talked about that story. And they made Andre the Giant, the wrestler, like, what was he, the ninth wonder of the world or the seventh wonder?
Yeah.
But look, no, there's been wonders throughout humanity that they never show us. And I'm talking about thousands that are very tall, and even in this present date, that don't really get the notoriety. There was a period of time in our life, we got the Will Chamberlains, you know what I mean? Things like that, the wrestler, or the guy from the circus, when Barnum and Bailey was still around traveling America on a train, bringing entertainment and the weirdness and the strangeness and the lostness and all that stuff. So here you have a depiction of a lot of very, very tall, and these are ones that are on record, and this is only a smidgen of that. So when people say, "Oh, I don't know if I believe in the history of the giants being on the earth," well, I mean, look, they're still here amongst us, and maybe it's tied into our genetics somehow, where they're never going to go away, and occasionally somehow. And it's not always giantism disease. It's these people don't look like they're having any tisms at all. But look, there's a lot of them. So it tells me that it's factual, because if we can have this now, it was possible then, and somehow the trait has stayed in humanity. Any thoughts, Chuck?
I got a thought. Is look at some of the old. Century-old buildings and stuff with the doors, how tall those doors were. Why would you need tall doors like that if you didn't have tall people to go through it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I've seen the insides of these doors and the outsides of these doors, and it just, now these people here aren't quite as tall as some of those doors, but they're getting there, So it makes you wonder.
I agree.
Yeah. Makes you wonder.
Yeah, I agree. I worked at a church. Then I told everybody, Presbyterian Church, 6th Avenue, downtown Pittsburgh, First Presbyterian, and we had the bottom of a ship brought in. Not by me. I mean, they did it when they were building this, and it was the folds of the doors. They were like 35 feet high. I know that's much higher, but we see depictions of doors like that. So they were ships. The bottom of ships made to become into doors, and they were on rollers and casters, and you would have to open them. I actually injured the shit out of my rotocuff because there was a Christmas tree behind the doors, and the cord came through, and it got caught on the wheel, and it jerked the door out of my hand. Now remember, the momentum when I got it to move, and it ripped from my hand, it also ripped 2 muscles up here. It truly did. I joke not on that. So yeah, you're right. We see these things, and I think these examples by the Masons and stuff, and these architects that were building early American examples with Tiffany stained glass windows, the Keller blue, certain things that were indoctrinated, as well as the large doors. This is all about the old world. And anyway, what are your thoughts, Jer?
Oh, on these huge people?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's possible. I mean, when we see things like this,
when you look at genetics and everything, it's weird that how they work. You have a perfectly normal sized mother and father, and suddenly you have a giant or a short person, a midget for a child.
Right.
I don't really know how to explain it, but it just seems odd that genetics had to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's in every culture.
Yes, possibly some interbreeding of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Every culture on the land has this type of example, which to me makes.
We have bugs like locusts or not what are them cicadas? They come out what every 17 years? Well, what
Not
happened?
anymore. It seems like every other year.
Well, that's true, but it seems like maybe whatever these people, the genetics these people come from, could have had the same rotation at one time, but maybe longer. Because
Right.
if you look at some of these families, they look back at their families and can't find anybody with this so-called disease. All right. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how did they get the disease in the first place from two completely normal parents, unless one of the parents passed it to them? You don't catch it by breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, but I got a lot more to show on something. We'll start the show out in the future in a way where we'll be able to really concentrate some time to it. But I wanted to bring it in because it's part of the old world, which is the now and the present, even now. But again, we're not seeing things like that. We're not, but we do know they still exist. We do know that. This is something I think about to you last night. This is interesting. We'll cut it if it's long, but let's take a listen.
Any seed that you're getting ready to plant, and you put it in your mouth and you cover it with your saliva, did you know that that plant will read your DNA and what it's deficient in, and it will add that to the plant that's growing, doesn't matter what kind of plant it is, and that plant will give you everything that your body is deficient in. Yeah, mind blower.
Sure is. And you know what? This is not
how it works.
What did I do?
I don't know, but I like that
Okay,
idea.
guys, I got a mind.
The spare tire
Well,
swings
you'll love
the
this
rear
one,
end into
Jared.
the air.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Then
about.
he just retracts the spare, backs into the street, and here we go. It's handy for parking in inaccessible garages, too. Here's a narrow driveway, but with the spare tire put to work, the car can turn a complete circle in its own radius, and parking is simple indeed. Even the worst driver can make the garage without denting a fender with the aid of fifth-wheel driving.
Crazy when you look at the old technology and what it was doing out there, and they told us it wasn't real.
Yeah. This looks like World's Fair crap here that they could have shown. And I gotta tell you, that's useful right there. That's useful.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
people.
more use. It would have been more safer now, maybe. I'm sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
Oh, there's a lot of people up here in Wisconsin that could use something like that. But then again, they probably wouldn't know how to use it. So
Yeah, Michael, Holly McElravy, I hope. If not, I'm sorry. Who was that lady with the info of the healing plant? It's not the healing plant. It's if you take a seed from whatever plant, you put it in your mouth, cover your saliva, and plant it. It will give you whatever you are missing. It's just they didn't.
Yeah,
really
you're
say
deficient in.
do you have a name?
That's
on
why
who
this.
put that out?
Yeah, I have a bunch of stuff, but if you want to just go into the group, the strange, the mysterious, and the lost, or I could send you something on that and a couple others.
I will put that link in the.
Oh, I
crap.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the comments, guys, for this. Sorry. I can't do two things at one time, so please excuse me. Here we go.
And while you're doing that,
that's me.
While you're doing that, we'll take a 1 minute break here and listen to this. Yes, you can. Look how great these kids dress.
Life was so much simpler back then, too.
Definitely. I take my hat off the Ruben. He made a hell of a video up there where he got all this stuff I don't know, but I thought I got to show this just because the simpler times were probably the better times. Without the technologies, you had malls right on your streets. You know, I mean, it was a fascinating time. I didn't get to see it all, even at my age. I missed a lot of that. So that brings a lot to light. It really does. I take my hat off to him. What a great job he did. What a great job. All right, so we're going to get back into a little bit of everything else. This is something that was the break. I asked you, I think last night, Jerry, we were goofing off, having a great conversation on America Rebellion, your show out there that starts Wednesdays and Fridays and Saturdays at 7, just so everyone knows if you want to follow Jerry. Great show to watch. Better when I'm there. Joking. I'm joking.
No, it is.
But this is that guy. This is that guy, Gary McKinnon, that I was telling you about. So let's play this here.
Guys that were in charge of whether or not to launch nuclear missiles. So some very credible people. All of these people have said that there are UFOs, they are alien. We're using anti-gravity and reverse engineered technology that came from captured UFO craft.
We're using anti-gravity?
Yeah.
Right now? Who's using anti-gravity?
Secret compartmented parts of the government. And I think we're being trickle-fed by the various defence contractors, so that I predict within the next 7 years we will have anti-gravity as a publicly usable phenomenon.
Okay, so how did you go about hacking into the computers to find what you were looking for?
Well, unlike the press would have you believe, it wasn't very clever. I searched for blank passwords. I wrote a tiny Perl script, the Perl language, that tied together other people's programs that search for blank passwords, so you can scan 65,000 machines in just over 8 minutes.
So you went and actually accessed 65,000 machines sitting on, I guess, 65,000 desks in different buildings?
No, because all 65,000 aren't necessarily live yet. You might find typically 5,000 might be live. And out of that, 500 might be Windows machines, then 50 might have blank administrator passwords. This is a pretty bad ratio for the world's largest military.
So you're saying that you found computers which had a high-ranking status, administrator status,
yep,
which hadn't had their passwords set. They were still set to default.
Yeah, precisely. And in some cases, it was thousands of machines because they had an image. Rather than store Windows off a CD at every machine, you blast it onto an image, stick the image in all the machines, and every single machine has a blank local administrator password. So.
And you actually eventually took control of one particular machine on a desk somewhere in NASA, is that right?
Well, I mean, I had control of every machine that had a blank administrator password because the door was open. So.
The charges: you hacked into the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Department of Defense, and NASA, amongst other things. Why?
I was in search of suppressed technology, laughingly referred to as UFO technology.
Yeah, so he was fascinated with technologies and UFOs, and he trips upon AI. 30 years ago. And I know somebody that actually interviewed him. I've never had that pleasure. Many of the things that he shared with her, Carrie Cassidy, it was also shared here. And so he even went into NASA. And it was like it was an open environment for him because, you know, he had the brains to be able to do it. But this was before Julian, Assange, and, you know, all these other people. And he broke the stories on what NASA was doing, what technologies were already in place, what we already had, what was reverse engineered. This was the most wanted guy on the globe. He was the most wanted guy on the globe by the United States of America and anybody else that they could push influence on to go after him. But miraculously, he's still out there, safe in a way, but I'm sure he lives within a shadow. But everything that he also disclosed came true. So AI was a long time ago, Jerry. No, they're just
Yeah. The government has had AI for years and years. There's no doubt about that. Listen, half the crap we own, including computers, cell phones, and everything else, the military and the government, they'll call it the government, had long before we did.
Yeah, it's just fascinating, but it's great validation. Again, as somebody who, and like even you, were the warriors of bringing the information forward. It doesn't matter what the subject is, truly.
Well, my question,
it doesn't matter. When you get the rabbit holes open and they're there for you to open them, to go in them, this is where we go. This is,
my question
we
is
all
this.
wind up doing it.
Why is it illegal to build a spaceship on your property and go to the moon?
Yeah,
or go to space? Just go to space. Why is that illegal? Why don't they want regular people? There's somebody who knows how to do that kind of thing, obviously. I mean, you know, you got to have some knowledge, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, but why not?
And believe it or not, you hit the nail on the head. People have, but the government comes in and takes over the projects. The minute they get some kind of word or there's some kind of, somebody leaks something. That's just the normality of the world. And it gets back to somebody, even if it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years. But yes, exactly. People have been doing it since the 50s. It's not a joke. It's a factual truth.
Why are they hiding all the Teslas like Jenny Berry here or Free Energy? Why are they hiding Tesla stuff? Because all this crap you see on YouTube or advertisements for free energy, it's all bullshit. It doesn't send you to actual plans on how to build. What I would imagine is probably a simple machine by him, and that produced energy. But why can't we find his actual plans? He didn't build that out of his head. I'm sure, you know, he was a guy who would, you know, draw up a plan of some sort. You know, why? You know, all this stuff. Why? Well, we know why. The energy, because it will put out every electric company in this country and probably half the oil companies, if not all of them. The economy would crash all over energy, and you know, to free energy would actually be the cleanest thing you could have. You don't need water for it. You know, you don't need anything.
It's right in the atmosphere.
Exactly.
It's dark matter in the atmosphere. And the truth of the matter is that's why they took the World's Fairs down, the electric cities. They were using the Tesla energy systems that they knew that he built, that he, you know, put together. And Tesla was not new news even in the early 1900s. Tesla was born in the 18s. But the point was he was trying to get this out to the market. And JP Morgan and the big name people, money, families, then, you know, they disband him from the family and forever giving him any more money on technologies because they wanted him without him knowing it. He thought he was doing something for humanity. It was doing it for the betterment for them to control the slavery of the buck, the dollar, and the essentials that we need to live by.
Yep.
Hey, Jamie Lawless, how you doing? I agree. And, you know, he was a genius, died penniless. Should have died the richest man on the planet.
Exactly.
He actually wanted to just give the I would imagine he would end up with a few bucks, but he actually did it for humanity. He was not an easy man to be around, but most people that are geniuses like that are not.
Right.
However, his heart was in the right place, and the government came and did what the government does. They crush your spirit. The government is there to crush the American spirit, which is what he had. You know,
No
the
doubt
can-do
about that.
attitude, all of that, and then take it and use it. It's like the guys who developed splitting the atom. You know, I never understood why they were so upset that they were working for the government, and they knew they had to know this was going into a bomb to blow the hell out of Japan. That I don't get.
Yeah.
But Tesla, you know, but the problem is once you take someone else's money, they have that control. You
Yeah.
know, and you got to look at who they are connected with. And I wish I was smart enough to know how to do it, because I'd do it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's just like Trump. You know, he doesn't need any of these, you know, kickbacks from anything. He's got plenty of money for, you know, for the rest of his life, and he can't be bought. And that's one reason why he's got a big target on his back, is they don't like that. Am I correct?
Well,
Yeah.
you look at what has Elon accomplished. He's made electric cars. He's made driverless cars. He's put people in space. You know, what's next? He wants to go to Mars. And, you know, you hear him say that, and you don't think he's crazy anymore.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but Tesla actually had an electric automobile. And we have truth of that. We don't know where it is to date, but he actually had it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Musk is like the new Tesla rebrand of technology somehow. But one way I think I do know about it is when Tesla died, Donald J. Trump's uncle, John Trump, was part of an affiliation in the government who went in and removed all of his inventions and trunks of information. And I just thought I'd throw that tidbit out there, and that's not a lie. That's an actual fact.
Well, hey, anybody remember the guy that figured out how to run vehicles on water disappeared from public really quick? Yeah.
Even the 70s show talked about that. It runs on water, man. you know?
The thing is, you know, they had trains that ran on water.
Yeah.
Water and fire.
Yeah.
Why not a car? Of course, you know, it'd be kind of, you know, it wouldn't be efficient to have a fire in the trunk just to heat up the water. But nevertheless, why couldn't you do it electrically? You know, that kind of thing, and whatever it was. And why? It's all about oil.
Yeah.
Okay. If the oil companies go down, the economy will crash in that amount of time. For the amount
but
of time
only because they narrated us into that.
Yes.
That was a game block, you know, that they put us in.
It's true. And look at the oil companies now. They have more power than God.
Bingo.
For the most part. The government still has the most power. But the government has kept things status quo to keep us continuing to buy what we need just to survive. And that's all they let us. Most people cannot afford to, like, we saw that video the guy made about whatever that was, the 50s or the 40s or whatever. That was the pursuit of happiness. Kids went to school, they dressed up. Women went to the grocery store, they dressed up. You know, you see people going to damn Walmart now in their pajamas. It's ridiculous. They cared about about certain things, you know, and they enjoyed their life. You didn't see any fat people. Okay.
Yeah.
Not to say there weren't any, just saying. You didn't see any fat kids. And they were out there, they were doing what kids do, just a lot less of it. And it was a better time where you could pursue happiness and contentment. You can't do that now. It's very difficult.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks for your question there, Jen. I think I covered a little bit of it, and we might actually cover a little bit more as we go on to into this a little bit further. So something else I was putting up about some of the ancient technologies too that I wanted to connect the dots on where there were times, like, you know, people talked about dials and wood and nails, and when they came out. And but before, I mean, what we're talking about, technologies that were like 2,000 years before, where things were not built with any of those. And they were the earliest things that we understood that people were using to build with, long wooden dowels where they would, drill out somehow with some capability, and they would tap through to connect two pieces together that would lock them in place until hell froze over. Well, the brilliance behind some of the early technologies of these magnificent structures that we see of the past, they were built almost with like a Lincoln log lock system, where everything had to be done through a connection of a link, like a chain, an open chain system. But when it went in place, it created a more efficient lock than a nail or a wooden dowel would, So that's part of how the concrete worked, and the fabricators and the carpenters worked. They had to come up with these technologies. There's even a story, I think, that references in one of the old books that I can't remember if it was in the Old Testament or not, but Ezekiel was told to find a carpenter that could be able to do something, and they wanted a special spiral staircase built, is the reference. And at one point, through, they claimed, prayer, a man wandered into town and said, "I'm here to build the staircase." And no one knew who he was. And they knew it was going to be a tough, tedious task. And they asked him, "How do you intend to do this without manpower?" He says, "I'll get the job done. Explain to me what you need." And he did it. And not one nail, not one dowel. And he created the most elaborate spiral staircase in this cathedral that they ever saw, and then just disappeared. Didn't even accept the payment for the work. Yep. So who did they send to do this? I don't know. But somebody came to them because, they reached out through different kingdoms and so forth, to all the powers that they could. And a man showed up and did it, and truly showed them that, the mind is capable of anything, basically, if you put your mind to it. Even if it's hygiene, the way you dress, the way you eat. But again, we're in a whole new world from that kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd put that up there. This here is something I'm still trying to get the reference to that I told you about. And until I have it, I'll share and split this until I have it. I don't have it yet, but I do have it. The problem is I don't know what system it's on. So I have to look through it. And I did this. I thought this was pretty fascinating because we touch all over. We do everything.
That's according to his mom. She turned to experts of the mind for some answers. NBC's Cynthia McFadden tonight with the incredible story that they found.
It's not unusual for little boys to have vivid imaginations, but Ryan's stories were legendary.
He said, "Mom, I have something I need to tell you. I think I used to be somebody else." And he started just telling me these stories about how he had lived in Hollywood. His stories were so detailed. It just wasn't like a child that could have made it up.
Ryan talked about dancing on Broadway, working for an agency, traveling the world, being married 5 times. He even said the street he lived on had the word rock in it.
And it would be, my last room was Grander. I want to go back to my swimming pool.
But things got really strange when they picked up a book about the golden age of Hollywood.
She turns to a page and I say, "That's me. That's who I was.
That's me."
Yeah.
But the man in the picture wasn't even a major star, just an unnamed extra with no lines in an old Mae West film. That's when Ryan's mother turned to this man, Dr. Jim Tucker, a child psychiatrist at the University of Virginia. For 50 years, the prestigious school has collected more than 2,500 cases of children claiming past lives.
And your conclusion after 15 years is what?
These cases demand an explanation, that we can't just write them off.
He's written about them in his book.
This whole idea of reincarnation.
No, ma'am. I grew up in a Baptist church. That's not something that we were taught to believe in.
But with the help of a movie historian, the man Ryan pointed to in the picture was finally identified. His name, Marty Martin. And just like Ryan said, he was a former actor turned Hollywood agent who danced on Broadway. was married 5 times, and even lived on Roxbury Drive in Beverly Hills. In all, Dr. Tucker confirmed that 55 of the things Ryan said were true.
Of course, a lot of people are going to say, come on, this is the parent or somebody else feeding them information.
I mean, it's just inconceivable that the parents, for some reason, had done all that. This information wasn't on the internet.
But there was one fact the detail-obsessed scientist thought Ryan had wrong.
He said he didn't see why God would let you get to be 61 and then make you come back as a baby. That looked like just an incorrect statement.
That's because Martin's death certificate says he was 59 when he died.
Since then, I've gotten information that the death certificate was actually incorrect, which would have made Martin 61 when he died. Ryan was right all along.
Are you glad you've had this experience? Yes, I am.
A chance, he says, to live his own wonderful life. Cynthia
That's amazing. When there's a trail of information of everything that he said, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 things. We're talking about 55 things. Nailed it. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. I love the story, and I thought we got to feature this tonight because we do talk about, I do a lot, and many of the people in the groups probably have at some point in their life, past life regressions. What are they? What is it all about? Reincarnation, things like that. And I learned one thing out of this. I didn't know Baptists didn't teach this. I really did not know that. So I actually was able to absorb a little something too. But just how fascinating. Let's start with Chuck for a second, because Chuck, I know you're a good guy. You speak from the heart. You're kind of quiet, but you do. How do you feel when you see something like that in hopes of what we know about life and, what we're hoping for at our bitter end, maybe to say in a kind way that's not so kind?
Anything's possible. I mean, I keep an open mind on stuff like that. Do I actually believe in it? I lean more towards yes than I do no. But then again, now, we're raised up with our religion and whatever, and it's saying, no, you're going to go to heaven or you're going to go to hell. You're not going to be coming back as something else. But, how can you debunk something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't the first thing that I've seen like this, where people have come forward and gone back to the areas that they're talking about. And, it's on the other side of the world or whatever. And there's no way that person had gone there, and they explain things that can only be explained if they were there. So, I keep the open mind up, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Just a quick note on that. Jerry, go ahead.
And very short. These people like this possibly can use a part of their brain that we are unable to.
Yep. Yeah.
Or there's a period, maybe a period of time, as some say, that, and mediums have spoke about this. John Edwards, Dolores Cannon spoke about it. Sylvia Brand spoke about it. It's in some of their books and conferences when they do them, when they give readings and so forth. And some of them at times are just so mind-blowing that it's just so fascinating that children, because being so close to that edge of leaving but returning through a cycle of reincarnation, that for early moments in time of childhood, that's the most precious time for the information, if they're capable of drawing it into this life, where they know this.
Well, I'm pretty sure I was a stable boy, went around behind the horses with a shovel in former life. That'd be me. Because everybody seems to think that they were a king or a queen or something, but never a stable boy. So I'll take up the mantle. I'm good. I'm not making fun of it. It's just a joke. But, seeing as how no one actually knows what happens when you die and stay that way on Earth, how the hell how does anybody really know?
Yeah.
Well,
Jerry, go ahead.
No, please.
Now, Jerry, you brought up another good point there is, Michael has even said it. We only use 10% of our brain. Is that the right figure?
Yeah, I believe that's what I've always heard. Yes.
I mean,
again, yeah, that's the information we were given.
Yeah. Well, that's true too. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, even if it's more, we're not using our full brain capacity. Otherwise, we'd probably be hearing voices all the time and going nuts. I'd be able to hear Michael if he doesn't speak, Chuck, that kind of thing. But part of their brain somehow knows this stuff. Dave says the soul. I believe your soul can be any part of your body. It's kind of how you are in life or whatever. But I don't really want to get into it too much because I don't know how to explain it. But who knows? I mean, these people get tested by doctors and so forth and on. So who knows?
Right.
And doctors don't know everything, frankly, and neither do scientists.
No.
So,
I mean, I've been over to Joe Dell's house, and she's showing me video of in her living room where she sees orbs going past, with off her cell phone and stuff. And there's no special lighting in her living room. There's no, there's nothing to make that. I don't. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's so many mysteries that we don't have the answers to.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, we are trying to find them. That's what I think is the most incredible thing. Never give up. Never give up on the story of your life if you're looking for the answers. All right, so moving on. Something else that I brought up in another show. And people say, well, who is this guy? That young man you're looking at right there is who I believe is the real John F. Kennedy Jr., who, as I told you in the past, and I found some other additional information that I had in my little archive of him, where he was after his father's passing. And we're not talking about the one that everybody identifies as John. Okay, that's not what we're doing. And I have some more pictures too of a studio setup of an interview that's coming out very shortly, and I have some of those positive proofs too. So there he is with Doris Day doing shows and whatnot. And he had handlers, he had groomers, he had all these things. I just wanted to share some more pictures of the little guy who is now a big guy who wrote a book, The Stolen Identity of Who He Really Is. And not only did they steal his life, they stole his family fortunes. He basically lives very poorly, to be honest with you. So I just thought I'd show that. And I'm going to do another full expose story on it. Maybe we can all do it together because it's going to be pretty fascinating. And I'll put up the interview as soon as they send it to me. And we'll share it out and we can have a discussion about some of the information, which I already have a lot of. I truly do. Knowing the book, knowing some of the information from behind interviews and so forth. But that is the young man who the Secret Service was to be protecting him and handling his life for him that went into a nightmare. And when you all learn about the nightmare, and again, I believe this, okay? It's not for me to tell you to believe this, but I can assure you that there is a cousin involved here in the picture who was utilized while they were hiding this young man, and he got trapped in that scenario of what many talk about of a very dark, deep, bad place to be in life. And he lost all his family through these elites. So anyway, strange, mysterious loss sometimes goes in a little bit different of a direction here because putting out the facts the best we can. And I think you guys are going to find this story very interesting. So if you don't know about it, you can look it up. The book's on the market. It's at Amazon. Stolen Identity, The Real John F. K. Jr. He also has TikTok videos out there that represent him, that people have done for him, been kind enough, and they put things together. anyway, I would just suggest that you, if this is something, a story of interest, and I think it's an American interest myself, look into it. Stay tuned. More's coming. And this is one of the parts.
Kennedy's.
God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. 'Cause there's a kind of love that God only knows. There's a kind of love that there's a God only knows.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
So
the Kennedys
I
have
don't
not
know,
always
guys.
been
I
the
just
most.
thought
The Kennedys have not always been the most above board family ever. So this is something to look into, I think.
yeah. Well, they were whiskey runners. You know.
Yeah.
You're right. But he made his fortunes from it. And anyway, there's a story there that'll blend into all this with the politics and why it was suggested for Senior to present both his sons into politics, because we're not talking about one Kennedy here. We're talking about multiple family members, and not just and marital family members. Anyway, it's going to be pretty fascinating. As I say, I have some of the pictures right on my phone that I could put into there. That you'll see him sitting around all the stage lights, finally getting some attention. And the one thing I want people to keep open-minded about is, why would anybody put themselves out there? And the time that he has tried and the struggles that he's been through, if it's all untrue. I don't feel it. And there's many reasons why more that I say that I'm not sharing in this moment. But when the timing's right, and it's going to be very, very soon, we can connect some of those dots, and then you guys can take it off. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. I've been interrupting. I must be having a delay, and I apologize for that.
No problem. I'm learning as we're going here, and like I said, you've got so much information and different views of how you interpret things, we interpret things. The chatters out there, they interpret different things, and that's why we're all here, is to try to learn other things and not be persuaded by any means, but take a look at something and look at it a little differently, maybe. We're not telling anybody what to do.
Right.
I think that we have lost our curiosity. We are so entrenched in politics, and we have our opinions, and they are unbreakable, that we have lost our curiosity about a lot of different things. And I think and a lot of people call closed-mindedness. I don't think that's more of an insult to me. In my opinion, anyway. I think it just has to do with the society we live in.
Yeah.
And it has gone to a point where we have been trained to believe so many things and do things so many different certain ways that there's no way around that. And that's how it's done. And you don't like it, go away. But I think that we have lost our ability, even as adults. I mean, children, they have innocence. They don't have a lot of things in the way of believing what they believe. That's why they believe in Santa Claus, and they, no matter what the obvious things are about it, their parents can explain it away to them very easily, and then one day they don't, because they understand. But aliens, Bigfoot, how things are built, who was this guy? Why did he show up and then just disappear? This is all, the government has been running a scam on us for many, 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 many years. Longer than we've all been alive. And it's all brainwashing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Try to pick my words right here because of the presentations that we're doing, but the traps traps, commercializations, holidays. And what does that do when you have children tugging at your side coat? Mommy, I want that that toy train set. Yeah, it's the trap. And they were genius about how they orchestrated this into a presentation of, and what a lot of people won't believe, that it's paganism or it came from these cultures. And satanic was, the guy who likes children and the red suit. I mean, yeah, not that I want to go there, but I mean, when you look at the big picture, this is why I do the things I do that will present a lot of things, even maybe around the holidays. It connects dots back to people and so forth. But yeah, pretty crazy. All right, let me get to this here, because the birthing, proper ways depicted, how to do it right, directions. I mean, this was how the newspapers were written for people to get educated. Young people that were having children that didn't know what they were going to, there were no midwives. It was families helping the other party in the families to have a birth and things like that. So you see how the early newspapers worked, these stories of how to give birth and what position for the lady to be in and so forth. The old paganism way was to actually, for a young lady to get up against a tree, crotch her legs down, put herself up against the tree, squat from the ground, and let the baby drop. And that's why you're seeing depictions like that. So these practices were not just here in the deserts. They were being practiced everywhere. So there were people from everywhere, early travelers that they don't talk about, that had ways to get around the waters and navigate, and they weren't all walking. They brought their stories, they brought the truths, brought the different things, the trade markets and the grease roads and all these trade routes. This was how information was shared, and healthcare and medicine and plants and how to thrive. These were the earliest what you could call newspapers that ever existed. Things like this, these examples.
Yeah. And they were serious about it, because that took a long time to
wild,
do.
Huh?
Setting some type. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking about what you were speaking about with Tesla and free energy, here's
the plaster-covered hay bales built by a bunch of pilgrims. Hell, I've even seen the claim that, get this, many were built with stucco and then painted with compressed air squirt guns for quickness. World's fairs, entire cities fully powered by free atmospheric energy, complete with massive, impossible structures, weren't temporary buildings, but rather remnants of the old world they were actively erasing. Eventually, all torn down like it was nothing, baby farms and all. But why destroy these grand buildings right after showcasing them? Oh, right, because they were never built in the 1800s, and they were in a bunch of plaster-covered hay bales built with stucco and then painted with compressed air squirt guns.
That's how they built them so fast, huh?
Pretty crazy when you look at that.
Yeah.
But it's cities. Yeah. Well, that's what they say. That's what they were, the examples of Tartarian ingenuities. They were out there, and people went in to try to understand, and that's why they would charge them to get in. The admission was not really that they had joyrides all over the place. It was about the technology, the old world technology coming to the future. And that reset had to be destroyed because people were starting to see it. And then you're hearing about babies, cryogenics. So this was not just, listen, this was early removal from the belly, put into these units, and to lay there until they were old enough to have that 9-month period of non-delivery delivery. So you have that also tied into it. So people were learning about all this stuff, the sophistications of it, and that had to be destroyed. That could not go into the future, because then, Jerry, as you were saying, we would have had free electricity everywhere. We would have been doing it. We'd have been creating it ourselves, because simple tech on it, when you really get to understand it, it's not that difficult.
When he was around.
It just isn't. You can watch two magnets, how they interact, That's part of the
he was
biggest thing of
around-
it. You know, the interaction of that.
when he was around and doing, making this stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm having a delay.
The oil was booming. They already had electricity. There was companies set up for this, and so on and so forth. And it was all brand new. And even then, it would have put everybody out of business. Now, it would be devastating. But then, what do we really pay? Anybody ever really read their electric bill? The electricity ain't what costs the money. It's all the government fees and taxes. Okay.
Exactly.
And that right there tells you all you need to know. Your electric bill is about half of what you're actually paying. At least mine usually is, of what you're paying. And because when you think about it,
There's a city
why
called Barron
should
in Turkey.
everything that they use to make electricity is from nature. They use water. They build. You could build water wheels and make electricity. There's these guys. They say you could take 2 alternators and make electricity. I've watched a guy who was an electrical engineer said that's completely impossible, but they swear they can do it. I don't know. It's hard to believe.
No, that's not impossible. I've done it. Yeah, honest to God, I've done it. I've made 110.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I didn't have to rewire them. Listen, you don't have to. Even if you have ongoing current in your car, you can buy an inverter box, plug it in, or wire it to your battery, and you have automatic 110, 120.
I agree. I have one in my truck.
Because that's what refrigeration guys do.
I have that in my truck for that exact reason. We're doing
Yeah.
that, and all you need is an inverter. You need a cutoff switch, an emergency cutoff switch, in case there's a backfire on any electric.
You can use a weight and balance machine where it'll keep that belt running that generates the power, or you can use a windmill.
Yeah,
And that
or
will keep the.
I think he had used magnets, if I'm not mistaken. Am I wrong about that?
I didn't have to.
Okay.
I mean, I got the recipe from, to be honest with you, from a guy that was somewhere in the Rocky Mountains or something like that, who was trying to live off the grid. And he was pretty brilliant on all the things that his father taught him, passed on to him, including making antennas and stuff to pick up Wi-Fi from satellites. I mean, he made dishes. He would using coax cable, all this different stuff. How do I know about this? Because I was copying what he was doing for my own camp and creating stuff to work, thinking out of the box. And that's what I did. I mean, I do have electric and power there. Don't get me wrong. I also have a generator, but I have this thing that I got to try that. I got an extra alternator sitting up on the shelf. Let me do it. It just needs a diode in. I'll put the diode in it. It'll be good as new. And then you get into these things. You learn them all. That's what, for me, that's what motivates me to keep going forward.
I'm going back to researching that again because I am exceedingly interested in that because I live in a perfect place for it. And I don't much give a damn about the electric company who tells me how much they care about me and then sends me a bill every month. And if I don't pay it, they shut off my electric. Okay.
Right.
And I don't give a damn what the government has to say about being off the grid either.
Right.
Right. And I don't think Trump will have the administration would have any problem with you doing whatever you want to do. He's all about freedom for citizenship and the rights.
Yeah.
So, I would say do whatever it is you got planned to do and live free.
They tell you things like do not backflow your generator into the house. And yes, it can be a fire hazard, but there are ways to do it that are perfectly safe, and that's what people don't understand. And the number one thing, I'm getting ready to do it. As a matter of fact, you've got to have one person in charge of the electricity, and that's it. Nobody touches it. And the electricity like we have it on a pole outside, and then there's another one box in the house, and both of them have a complete shut off for in the house, and then outside is for the entire house. That's it. that has to be turned off, because if power comes back on while you've got a generator going, you're liable to start a fire. All right. But they, they make it some law. No, you're not allowed to. Screw you. I'm doing it because I'm tired of running cords during a hurricane. And I'm tired of not having electric and all this other crap.
Yeah. I don't blame you at all. And that's probably why what you just brought up, the hurricanes, people like this did this, where this is really interesting. A complete underground city that could house, I think this one was up to what they calculated up to 100 years being underground, which means people would have never seen the light of day. Let's take a listen, because it's just really interesting. And this isn't the only one.
In order to seal off what was inside. How did they get down there? They carved the entire thing by hand. By hand? By hand. It could house over 20,000 people. But how do you get down there? You walk down these stairs that go down the ground, and like I said, at the entrance to this entire city, or there were many cities, not just one, Darren is just the biggest. They had this massive multi-ton stone that they would roll in front of the door and seal the entire underground area for sometimes, be ready for this, potentially hundreds of years. It'll live down there, potentially for hundreds of years, means entire generations had to live down there. There's a city called Darren, Turkey. They created the most elaborate.
So I was wrong. Hundreds of years. I thought it was 100 years. And as he said, there are multiple ones of them. I've seen depictions. I've seen little TikTok video contents of them. Imagine that, raising your animals under there, families under there. And this is how some of the old world lived. It's mind blowing, but in a good way. But in a good way, I guess, because it's teaching us something. People saying we need more housings now. I'm starting to think we need more bunkers. I'm just saying, because of all the things we're witnessing.
I'd have a hard
time.
Now,
here's somebody that, I would love to go. I would love to have I would love to have a debate with this young lady. I'm not saying she's bad news. I'm not saying she's not credible. I'm going to give her the benefits of all the dots, but it's really interesting when you look at all the subject matter we're talking about.
HD images of these plasma balls, and we never have before, right? Usually they're just little tiny specks of flashing color and light. So what came through in this remote view is that this is the start of their projections. But really, extraterrestrials have been here for quite a long time. We have been trying to capture them on footage for quite a long time, and our technology still can't capture them because they're in a different dimension. We're able to capture clear images of these detailed plasmoids because it's still in this dimension. So not to say that every orb or every plasmoid is government, but we need to start questioning them because they're just testing out this technology and seeing how we respond. And unfortunately, it seems like we're feeding into it.
So that was the thing in Jersey, the drone stuff?
Absolutely. When you see these videos of these plasmoids, it does look very extraterrestrial, but unfortunately what I picked up on is it's not.
So is that part of Project Bluebeam, you think?
It is, absolutely. It's part of their initiation into their other agenda, which is the false alien invasion.
What do you think their goal is with those false alien invasions?
Once again, control, depopulation, fear, and to ultimately confuse us as to what is real. When I was remote viewing.
And much of what this young lady is theorizing and through the interview is information that has been out there for many, many years. And I don't agree with the fact of the cameras, the abilities, and what we see, and whose drones they may have been. It is something that I would like to hold back on and have the opportunity to go one-on-one, because I could present enough to make people think, not against her for a bad reason, but to put question into, because she says she's a remote viewer. She also says she goes on UFOs and she sees technologies. And I have some examples from this same interview where she gets into that. And again, I'm not doubting some of her possible abilities, but I know in just the content of things she said that I've been capturing these pictures of plasma and orbs. Orbs are a form of a plasma. They truly are. And I've been doing it for 30 years, plus decades in a way. But it took me a while with family and stuff, get quality, have phone, and all these technologies now just sitting in our hands. I think that's what we're really seeing. It's because everybody has one of these things, or a camera now, digital camera with different abilities. And again, I don't want to be rude to anybody, but I would just only kindly, in the best way I could say it, I would love to have a conversation. I'm just going to leave it like that. I would love to have a conversation with this young lady. And I'm not saying what she's saying doesn't have some factualities to it, but I'm also saying that the information has been out there. I'm getting nothing new out of it, except for things that I would want to question.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's
just the way I feel. I don't,
and we need to go back to question everything. I don't care what it is.
Exactly.
Question everything. You don't believe it? Take 10 minutes. Look into it. I mean,
right. I hope she calls me, and I hope she calls me. She has all my love, but I mean, give me some love and let me ask the questions.
Yeah.
I have different ones that weren't asked there that I think would have been more appropriate. But again, I don't want to take somebody down the rabbit hole they feel really uncomfortable with. I have enough people that say, Michael, you say so much, I don't want to be on your show. I've really been told that. When it comes into some of the dynamics of what's real, I go that direction, not to be harsh on anybody. But I do know that factually the things that she's mentioned, more than several of them there in that short comment, that I just look at it totally different. Anyway, hey, we're at the 2 hour over mark. We're starting to lose the crowd too. Everybody's. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I'll tell you one thing, Michael. Of all the people I've known in my life, you have the most open mind I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
Well, you know what? I think everything in life is interesting, and I look at some of the scenarios of them, and I just try to get the most out of the answers if there are any, or what leads to the answers and so forth. And I get why people sometimes think, well, how do you? I get all that. I'm trying to only do what they're questioning. Well, I'm telling you, I really am. That's kind of how that fits. It's just like this. What we think are rocks are actually trees, and some of them are so enormous, like.
And at an angle. Okay. All this, everything. This whole mountain in a 100-mile radius. Come right over here.
They'll break samples off. You can actually see it's wood.
Yeah.
You see.
Petrified.
This looks just like freshly chopped wood. We peeled a piece off of there. This is what we see. This is the wood. See that? That's just got the moss on it. And all this here, all the way back up in here, I'll show you that in a second. You come right here, and you see, well, pull a piece off here. It's just wood. It's so crazy. All this.
Again, they're not teaching our kids. We have to rely on people outsourcing the work, doing the footwork. Thank God for TikTok. Thank God for Instagram. Thank God for X. Thank God for Rumble. When they do allow the factualities to come out of the evidence, with the evidence. Again, somebody's going to step forth and say, well, you're just seeing an evolutionarily change or a mud flood reaction on the mountain, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen samples of the similarities of this. I really did. And not just because I watched this. I mean, travel from Pennsylvania down to North Carolina and look at some of the examples that stand out. I mean, above everything else, you can't miss them. They're in front of your face. But people think it's some type of carved mountain, and it's not. They were trees with giantism, that somehow through catastrophic events or something, or being cut down by beings that were 50 feet tall. I don't know.
Yeah, that tree was ripped apart or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's huge.
Water. Yeah, that ain't from water, and that ain't because you go to any river, the rocks are round usually, or if they are sharp, they're blunted from the water. That's not what that is.
Okay, Jenny's talking about the fallen angels. I'm working on something that you may really like about that fits into this whole criteria of many things that will combinate. It will connect some dots. I don't have them here tonight. I apologize for that, but we'll get to that. Those angels and the fallen angels and so forth like that. I don't know, Nick. I don't know. That could be what it is. He didn't make any reference to the species of the tree. I don't know. But again, I have other samples as well. And when they went into it with like a core drill, they brought it out and it was able to burn. Certain parts of it started to burn and smoke. And I mean, I wasn't there to say I smelt it, but they allowed you to witness the whole entire process. That wasn't petrified on the inner core, but being protected by the change of the elements and the petrification of that turned it into like rock stone. Just really crazy stuff. Now here's something else that's really crazy, and we got to do this one. We did talk about giants tonight, and we talk about Nephilim. And Jenny, this is something that you might like a lot. Jerry and Chuck, I'm going to ask you both. What do you see suspicious in this picture? Because you have to pay close attention to everything.
He's got wings.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this doesn't have to do with wings.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to get a good look here.
Seems like
please take a really good look.
His hands have that Jesus look on the cross.
6 fingers.
There you go.
4, 5,
the ancient stories of the Nephilim round. Now, why do you see so many statues with the arms cut off and the feet cut off? 6 fingers, 6 toes. So they were carved. They were made by what they saw. So maybe the wings actually are a factuality, but I wanted to bring the hands into the element first because what you have here is 5 fingers and a thumb. So you're really looking at a total of 6 where I don't have to hold my hand up. Everybody knows what we have. But also to say that there has been people that have born that became very tall. There's also been people born that still have 6 fingers and 6 toes on each extremity. No joke. So this is why you see the destruction to hide it, but they never finished this. And I don't know why. It's the same with pharaohs. We had lady pharaohs, but they removed them. They removed the history of the lady pharaohs. Great leaders, but were removed because, again, it goes almost to like women's rights back then. But isn't that amazing? And I want you to look, if you ever look into like symbols of figurines and statues, and you will see how many arms, hands that are just gone. They leave the rest of the figure there. But they went around and removed. Somebody was told to go around and take this stuff off them because they did not want these facts to get out for some reason.
Wow.
Yeah. That would explain the Venus de Milo.
Well, I mean, look, even Lewis and Clark, when they came to the United States, learned a lot of really mysterious things like the moon-eyed people. That we don't talk about. And I don't know if anybody talks about them, but the Apache Indians taught Lewis and Clark about them, that they were like miniature people, but not like gnomes, that their eyes had a glow to them at night. And they shot arrows that were very miniaturized with poison arrows. They were very specific and told Lewis and Clark, you must be careful if you pass these humans, these beings, or whatever, however they use the term towards them. Giving them, I'm not joking about this. Moon-eyed people. They exist too. And Jerry, you'll probably be looking it up tomorrow when you're having your coffee. But also, like I said, this is really important when we look at history and what's left and what's a depiction of the symbols. And who's to say that these guys really didn't have wings, or maybe they had jetpacks back then somehow, and this is the only way they knew how to depict them, to say that certain men could fly. And this was the only way to identify that beings could do this. But maybe they had technology that they didn't know how to express it, and this was the only way. I'm not saying I'm right, and other people have probably said what I'm saying. I really believe in what I'm saying, that there's more to this entire story, but I don't know what it really is.
Maybe, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And we're never going to get to everything I put aside for tonight. I got enough material to just go on. I'm not joking.
Well, unfortunately,
okay, so here's some from a friend of mine, Dr. Jack. Okay, we'll do this as the last one, and we'll say goodnight. So this is kind of important. It's going to take a little bit different of a thing. I know Jack. I talked about him on your show, Jerry, when I talked about the SV40 and the people that suffered the consequences of the material that was in it and so forth. Well, hello, and I have a lot of information on Jack, and I spoke to him just the other day. He wants me to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't want no Bitcoin. I'm waiting for Trump's coins. But anyway.
Is my clade, we would drill tops of the heads off, put wires into the thalamus, put electricity in there, and kind of see what kind of behavioral changes we could have. One of the guys that was in that program was a guy named Professor Delgado. When he saw that we could control the behavior with the wired device, he said, what if we do it wirelessly? So he checked it in monkeys and checked it in bulls, and it turned out you can do it wirelessly with RFID chips and semiconductors. Then the CIA took it to the next level. They said, well, since this is electromagnetic radiation, what if we did it through light, through screens? And it turns out you can. And that's the reason why all your computer screens have the frequencies they have. So why is this all important? Well, the person that set this meeting up between me and Bobby is the patent attorney that made sure that Google and Meta have those things so they can control the things that we all do. Where did the original idea come from that started off in MK Ultra with the CIA? You're going to be surprised when you hear this. It came from the mafia in Las Vegas. They wanted to build a new city in the desert. They enclosed it all, blacked out the windows, invented slot machines that were blue lit. And they found out that they didn't have to take a gun, stick it in your face to steal your money. Then they even got smart. They said, let's give people free alcohol while they're doing that. And they found out they got the money quicker. And that's when the CIA got the idea to start this program. That's really how it started. The reason that all your computer screens are blue lit.
Anyway, some really fascinating information from Dr. Jack. Again, I suggest to anybody, if you can follow him, he is personal friends, and that should tell you something about a presentation that we did just maybe 15, 20 minutes ago with Mr. Kennedy, who is now in the White House with Mr. Trump. So there's a loop here of information. So I speak because I've been fortunate enough to be graced with good people around me. And I assure you, I have no reason to, make this up for any reason. But Jerry, okay, you said you had to go. I get it. And it's been a great long show. I enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. Just thank you. I hope what I was able to put up on screen tonight, you got something out of, and there's more for the merrier that want to watch in the future for other shows and contents. But again, Jerry, I know you do a lot of shows. I don't want you to go on burnout. Chuck, you'll be fine. But Jerry, we got to take care of Jerry too. We got to take care of Jerry too. And so I'm going to thank everybody that's here. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. We are going to do another show.
I guess I'm the did you enjoy 68-year-old Energizer Bunny guy? Is that's what you're trying to tell me?
Well, we have to do a lot of talking. You have to understand. It's easier when you don't talk as much. No, I'm starving and I got to go eat. And my sugar is going to crash soon. That's all it is.
No, that's all right. That's
You're
all
doing
right.
it.
Hey, it's already getting late in the evening too.
I highly enjoy doing this. I do.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk on a different level, and it's more enjoyable too. Not that everything isn't important, but I think it just puts, there's got to be a different type of release for people that they can like say, "Oh wow, oh cool, how about that?
Yeah.
I never saw that before. What is that? That all those things that bring us within a closer, neck. Great show, Nikki Young. Yeah, we know Nikki. I got to go through here and give everybody hearts for coming in tonight too. I do thank and appreciate you guys all. If you don't mind, please put it on your pages. Appreciate it. Again, there's no stars required, nothing like that. It's just about creating a bunch of great people to come in and hang out with us. Jenny, I love you. You know that, man. Give my best to Joe too. I want to just say that Jolene was in, which I heard you mention, Jer, Tina Scott, a lot of great people. And remember, you can follow Jerry on America Rebellion. It starts at 7:00 Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays. It's a really great show, and you can check me out on What's in the Skies, something that Paramount's starting to knock on my door about. We'll see where that goes, if it goes anywhere. Anyway, they're all out for money. I know that, but it's the reasons why I do shows like this. It's that they know what people follow more. And again, it's good what you do. It's good what I do on all the subjects. Chuck, would you like to promote anything tonight?
I would like to promote you because I learned a lot tonight, and I got some good interactions with the people in the chat. Thank you, all the chatters out there. And no, just amazing. And the one thing that I really did notice about the show, hardly any politics. And that was a breather right there. We're so full up with the politics that coming in here and talking about different things besides that, I loved it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, life interest. I think everybody has one. And the subject matter, again, I do apologize to you guys. They kind of like misplaced things that it should have been tighter together. I don't even know where they are, to be honest with you, because I didn't even get to it all. I mean, we have the Vanderlei family in there who built an underground city in Manhattan, and they knew they did it. I mean, Joe Rogan talking about Jackie Gleason and Nixon and that story that I brought up to you. I was able to find it, and I wanted to create validation, and I found it, and I put it on here so you guys knew about that. And we'll get to that next time, I guess. Some of these other impressive, I don't look at the skill set. Oh, my God. It's just fascinating. And then you have somebody that was right on the inside. Bushman, Death Bay Confession, Area 51. So much we didn't even get to, people. So remember, maybe we'll have to clip this. We'll have to steal a rebellion show or something, or do a presentation on that side and add some of these other feature components into it. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Good ideas. Yeah.
We could think about that. Because we obviously came up as a political show, and after doing it for, I don't know, because Nick is a co-host, it got to be around. Well, once the 2020 election was stolen, I was burned out, down like most people, blah blah, and we started talking about what I call all things Americana, and
yeah.
I actually like that way better. It's better conversation. Nobody is really yelling and screaming, or namely me, and I enjoy that. And you get off, and you've had a few laughs because somebody's always making fun of me. But yeah, we could talk about that. I wouldn't mind doing that one day a week.
I mean, there's. I'm just being honest. It's 2 hours, 2.5 hours doesn't get you nowhere through presentations and conversations and things like that. And the interaction tonight was jumping all over the place too in the chatter box. I mean, that was freaking out. Yeah. So, and then here we have Boyd. He's actually posting up pictures that were given to him and from places where he took pictures of actual, what he claims were alien bodies. I mean, we really got to deep dive into this topic more. We got to bring What's in the Skies back in front of us to be able to discuss some of this stuff. But again, one way or another, we will figure it out. So I'm going to say thank you to everybody from America Disclosing Uncensored. You've been watching The Strange, the Mysterious, and the Lost with Jerry, Chuck, and myself, Michael. Thank you for being here tonight. We greatly appreciate it. And look at this fascinating picture off to the right where my little red dots are. A close-up of a face through a bedroom window that we didn't even get to tonight. Imagine that. Didn't even get to it.
All right.
Huh.
I'm not saying they look like anything, but I'm saying I spoke to these people. I spoke to these people. This is what they gave me. This is what their proof was. They says, you want validation? Here's my validation. I don't know.
I see something like that out my window. All it's going to see is elbows and ass. You running.
Yeah,
I don't know. I see something like that. I may actually remember to grab the phone and take a picture, because normally I see stuff and don't never have the phone with me or don't think about it.
Yeah, a lot we didn't get to do tonight, guys.
Through the window, then I gotta grab something else. I'm sorry, I don't really want to do
so
that
much.
to anything, but
Right. Bye-bye.
So much we didn't get to. All right, man. You guys have a great night. I appreciate you, and good night to everybody out there in America and beyond, wherever you are, wherever you're from. Love you all. We appreciate you. Please join us on the next episode of The Strange, the Mysterious, and the Lost. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night.